some Sanje Dam Jijin, Najingo Jansu Jada, cutting some Mebe, the Champagne, Madame Beshabido, Tamameva, Ungo Rado, the Wasam Guba, Chambesa, Sashin Chasu, Jawan and Sarah Tamje, Don Meva, Jesus Zondo, so. Baldin Dorsi Song, Rigun Chabda, Lama Garmaba, Chinguru Gunjin Jones, Sishe Bajuri Dam Nanjurma, Trine Gunje Chabo, Wanjur Chujon President Chambrella, Nanjur Ziji, Kuben Dudon, Dame Tuji, John, Chudu Jagun, Bemanjung, Donga Sonju, Demba Beveja, Chinze, Javeni Wozo, Tingshu Dembe, Jansen, so and Yunde Sanje Guna, Yamna Yang, Gardin Sanje, Lejan Lawai. Good morning. I here would like to remind you bodhicitta, in order to benefit all sentient beings with the attitude of the bodhicitta, compassion, loving kindness. Based on this attitude, then we cultivate the wisdom of listening, the wisdom of contemplating, and the wisdom of meditation. Yesterday, we have discussed about the general Vajrayana practice. And then I remember that we have clarified a certain aspect of importances of the visualization or the practice, and then I did explain three different aspects, which is the Tantra as a basis, the mantra as a path with the training or the practice of it, then as the Vajrayana as a fruition. So today the topic of kyerim, in Tibetan word kyerim, that is the process of generation or creation. Now, word of kyerim in Tibetan, jet means creation or generating or cultivating or adopting whatsoever. But with this concept, with the concept of a kyerim, what we have known or what we know is to train our mind, which train our mind of what? What kind of a mind? Because the mind always distracted, and we believe object as a solid, truly existent, whatever we see. The beauty is also the truly existent, and the hearing of a sound, the pleasant sound or unpleasant whatsoever, are all we labeled as a sound truly existent. So in order to jong, Tibetan word jong is to purify or subdue or make it end, whatever. So through these, the process of generation, mind turn into visualization of peaceful, wrathful deities, as well as a syllable letter, as well as a mandala. There are many kinds of visualization we adopt for the purpose of turning our mind into gradually, slowly into the state of the perfect, the purity. So with this perspective, and in the practice of Vajrayana, there is a very strong and a very profound belief in this training of mind with the means of the generating process, because it connects our mind to the external appearances. How we believe the object what we see, object what we hear, object what we smell, all kinds of objects we deceptively labeled as a truly solidity and an inherent existence. But then now try to transform through the means of the kyerim, the generating process, artificially, of course, artificially, to us is artificial, but in the reality is not artificial, because every object or every phenomena is the ultimate phenomena. It's not the phenomena that what we see in the state of illusion or delusive mind. So therefore, it's a very extensive and a very profound method that kyerim is. If you continue with this visualization with the mandala, with the deity, eventually that mind gets into closer towards into the state of the highly realization. So therefore, transformation is not fruition. The transformation is basis, which we need to carry on from day-to-day life. So therefore, this is a very crucial, important training with the practice of the kyerim or generating process.
I'm sorry, last sentence I didn't get. Transformation is not the process, or is not?
It's a process.
It's a process.
Transformation is a base. Okay. Transformation is our daily practice. It's not something that we expect one day transform everything. Mm-hmm. In the text of the Mahakala ritual, it says there, Chi Niu. Chi Niu means the external appearances. Nangi Zalung, inner exercise of the bindus and the nerve systems, and as well as the circulation of air. Chi Niu, Nangi Zalung. Sangwa Rangi Sem. The secret part is our true natural mind. So these three externally or relatively three separate elements. In the practice of visualization or kyerim, we work with these three and try to bring these three into one. Of course, not in the reality, because we still lack of experience of that, or the lack of actualization, but as a process, we are going through the training of kyerim, and then eventually what we expect is to mingle these three into one. And experience that, then this kyerim leads you to the state of accomplishment. Without these three bringing into one, no matter how much you put effort into the kyerim practice, then the great failure is there and unable to reach the state of accomplishment. So, in general, our meditation of kyerim, or the process of generation, has tremendous relationship with the external appearances and the internal appearances. And kyerim helps to undermine the power of negative emotions and undermine the negative thoughts and undermine the sense of believing the solidity of external appearances and undermine the sense of believing the solidity of the truly existence of our body. And through this training, one can realize or understand that our body and our inner elements, like the bindus and the channels and the gross and the subtle elements of our body is arising from the Dhammadhatu. So this is how we call process. Although it's an artificial way of proceeding, artificial way of training of our mind, but still, in order to achieve the great realization of transformation in everyday life, we have to carry on this artificial transforming, thinking my body is a deity, my speech is the voice or the speech of the deity, or my mind is the mind of the deity. Of course, still we do not experience it, but in order to undermine our negative thoughts and the negative duality, the dualistic attitude, so we need to force or put our effort to undermine through the training of this kyerim. So it's a tremendous benefit if you are able to keep this kyerim practice along with every practice of you do with the body, speech, mind. Therefore, we have a deep respect to every single image of deities, isn't it? Yes, we do have. Even a very ordinary individual who does not have much idea of White Tara, who does not have much idea of Mahakala, who does not have much idea or information of Generesic, yet this individual, as a Vajrayana practitioner, does have a strong connection or devotion. Say that, oh, this is Mahakala image, this is Tara image, we should respect. We should not be disrespectful. So still lack of understanding the reality of a Tara, reality of a Generesic, but a sense of devotion, sense of a feeling that should not be disrespectful. So with that perspective, then you bring the sense of a Tara in your sense that my body is a Tara, my voice is a Tara's voice, my mind is the mind of a Tara. So you respect yourself. So what helps this? What this generation or the process of generation helps you is to undermine the negativities, mind of negativity, mind of illusion, mind of the ini that is impurity. So therefore, but not because of we are doing kyerim and with the stupid the pride saying that I'm Tara, you should respect me, not like that, right? You shouldn't be disrespectful to me because I'm Tara or I'm Mahakala. So in the sense of that, you should respect yourself to train your mind, train your attitude. That's how the kyerim we do apply. Mistakenly translated into English, some books that I have seen, even in Tibetan commentaries to the certain aspect of a kyerim, they say kyerim gompa. But those great scholars says we must not say kyerim gompa. We must say kyerim jongwa. It's in English it says that, of course, jongwa is a very profound word in Tibetan, but in English you translate different way in explanation: train, study, purify. But here, jongwa refers to the the process of generation is much more accustomed. We have to, because from the beginningless of time, we are very much accustomed with the negative emotions, very much accustomed with the anger, accustomed with the pride and the jealousies. All this negative emotion, we are very much accustomed with. Now, transform these into something else, which we need to be accustomed with the practice of kyerim, like when you see Tara. So white color of, because white Tara, so white indicate what? And holding the lotus or upala indicates what? And wearing jewel ornaments indicate what? So that sort of the training or that sort of a practice is we call kyerim jongma. So the great scholars never use kyerim gompa. It doesn't mean that you are not allowed to say or it's unworthy to say, but practically, in the sense of understanding a more deeper level of kyerim, then those great scholars use kyerim jongma. So, in Vajrayana teachings, they don't use much gompa. Gompa is very much a path in the practice of Sutrayana, or in general a subject of meditation, like shamatha, vipassana. Gom is a very much characteristic word or term that you use something effortlessly, effort with the effort, doing something with the effort. But the kyerim and the dzogrim, these two processes, is something that very much your life in the Vajrayana practice. You eat with these two processes. You talk with these two processes. You walk with these two processes. You sleep with these two processes. You get up with these two processes. You sit down with these two processes. Every aspect of your movement with the body, speech, and mind, inseparable from these two processes. So there's no important or no need to purposely use the name of a gom, the meditation of a kyerim or meditation of a dzogrim, is improper if you really talk about the realistic view of the point of view. So this is something that you every day accustom doing transformation, everything. So that's why those scholars do not use meditation or gom with these two processes. Next, this process of generation has four aspects of the purification, which means now we need to talk about a function of the process of generation. It's not simply that we are visualizing as a deity or as a mandala or as a whatsoever, but the profound, the ultimate function of this process of generation has four aspects. Now, in our concept, we must know, this kyerim practice is very profound. What sense of a profundity? The profundity that helps you to disconnect from the unnecessary illusion, right? There's a good illusion and a bad illusion. Of course, good illusion, we need it. But bad illusion, which causes unnecessary the misery and the suffering and pain. So this negative or unnecessary or needless illusion, so kyerim helps you to disconnect. Without idea of any deity, simply you are imagining or you visualize that you are such and such Tara. So this will not help you to disconnect from the illusion at all, right? So that's why those great masters in the past or those great scholars in the past convinced to the Vajrayana practitioners make sure that you should have a basic understanding of what deity is, what mandala is. So with that understanding or with that knowledge, then you perform the visualization of the deity, the visualization of a mandala, the recitation of a mantra that helps you to disconnect to those needless illusion. Now, I will explain these 4 different aspects. Number 1, in Tibetan word we call Jiangxi. Number 2, Jiangcha. Number 3, Zhongche. And number 4, Jiangde. In English, Jiangxi is the basis or ground of a purification. Number 2, that which needs the purifying or removing are. And the number 3, which does the purifying. And the number 4, the result or the fruition of a purification. Okay, now Jiangxi, or the basis or ground of a purification, is very simple. Both Sutrayana and Vajrayana we talk about Buddha nature. Buddha nature is our essential mind where all the qualities arises, the mind where the samsaric aspect arise, the mind where the nirvanic appearances arise. And the essential mind is the mind that is inseparable, or inseparability of the clarity and its emptiness. So this is our ground or the basis of purification. When we make clean of gold or glass, we clean only surface, so there is a stain, dirt on them. We don't clean gold itself, and we don't clean the glass itself. Similar or likewise, we clean the surface of the clarity mind, where those the temporary stains, the defilements that covers our true natural mind, which is the duality and all the negativities of the mind, which we can clean them, which we can remove them, which we can diminishing them. Of course, process different. In the Sutrayana it says we diminishing, we make them end, or we make them finish. But whereas in the Vajrayana, of course, within the Vajrayana, the context, there are different levels of the training according of the individual's capacity. But the overall idea of Vajrayana Buddhism, they always talk about the transformation, because all these stains and the dirts and the defilements arise from our own true nature, and once we recognize them, so it goes nowhere. So it goes back to their own nature. So that is we call the dissolve. That is why we call the recognizing. That's why we call actualizing. We are not pushing the defilements away. Instead of that, we bring them into their own, its nature. So that's why the Jiangxi, to recognize the Jiangxi, or the basis or the ground of a purification, is as important as the kyerim itself. Power of a pride to be the great practitioner of kyerim is very much based on this state. Why I'm saying here is because if you believe yourself, or you understand yourself as being always pure, never touched by any negative sense or the factors, then you believe to yourself innately, naturally, I'm pure. I'm never deluded. My mind is never deluded. My mind is always pure as space, as pure as gold. The sense and the dirts are temporary. Likewise, my emotion, my duality and my negativities are just temporary. So with that, convince yourself, say that, oh, I can be Buddha one day. I can be Bodhisattva. I can be practiced like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas being practiced in the past. Because I'm totally equal to them and with them. So that sort of confidence or determination arises merely from the understanding of that your state is being always pure, innately pure, never touched by any negative sense. So that's why understanding the purity of your basis or your ground, understanding of a purity of your basis or your ground is very important to begin the Dhamma practice. Then the second, jangcha, right? Jangcha, that which needs the purifying or removing are the conceptual, temporary conceptual or temporary emotional obscurations. When we remove or purify, then we must know purify to where. So this is also another important issue that we need to adopt and as a knowledge, because simply we always say, oh, purify, and purify, but then purify to where? So this we need to know, purifying or removing temporary conceptual and emotional obscurations to they are very natural. So this is a very special talent practice of a Vajrayana training, because you purify or removing because you know these are temporary. Why temporary? These are not inherently existent, or these are not your own nature. By power of recognition of these are as temporarily there, then by the power of wisdom, cut through these conceptual and emotional obscurations, and then they go back their own its own natural. So this is this sense or the real or framework understanding of what does purification mean in the practice of kyerim or Vajrayana. And our emotional and the conceptual obscurations, nothing negative in the Vajrayana practice, because in the Sutrayana we keep blame on them, right? Anger no good, jealousy no good, these are the disturbance, these are disturbing my practice and my mental stability. So you keep blaming them with all kinds of harsh words until you're fully satisfied. But you never gain, and you are not victorious. There's no victory from the negativities, just blaming on them. So the idea of in Vajrayana practice telling you is not wise. This way you cannot gain your realization. And the Vajrayana practice convince you to bring them into your own path, into your own true nature, because merely these conceptualities or emotionals are just merely incidental, not intrinsic to it. Because of this, in the church practice, they mentioned we supplicate hell realm, we supplicate hunger realm, we supplicate the animal realm, we supplicate anger, we supplicate stupidity, we supplicate to jealousy. Why do they say, are they crazy? Yes, they are ultimate crazy. So that's why they supplicate to all, because they have seen the reality of these emotions, the reality of these conceptualities. So in this perspective, the highly realized beings truly realize inseparability of this so-called impurity and the purity. Samsara and the nirvana are totally equal. There's no differentiation between these notions. Because of that, you can improve tremendously the practice of kyerim, or the process of generation. When those highly realized beings, especially in the practice of Jyot, when they supplicate or make a prayer to the anger, jealousy, or these afflictions, from their depth of heart, from the depth of their high realization, not from conceptually or philosophically or intellectually. If you are intellectually supplicated to the confusion, affliction, then you are most stupid. Yes, very true. And don't do that. I convince you, don't do that. It's not going to help you at all. And I highly recommend you, don't do that. If somebody do that, but don't imitate this. So everything based on realization. Everything should perform our practice, including kyerim, based on the certain state of realization, need to be gained. Now, next is Jongche, right? We have completed Jiangxi and the Jiangcha, which is the basis of purification and which needs purifying. We have completed. Now, number 3 is Zhongche, which means that which does the purifying is the Deity yoga, Hayin Nanjur. That time, when we talk about the Zhongche, which does the purifying, then we must not use the word kyerim. If you say by kyerim, then does the purifying, then it's wrong. That time, kyerim, the word changed to Hayin Nanjur. That means the Deity yoga. Kyerim is the basis of the visualization, which refers to mandala or the form of deity. But here, when we talk about the which does the purifying, then it's the action of kyerim, action of kyerim. So that time, very much that individual remain in the state of the Deity yoga. Kyerim is as a path. Every day with the sadhana. Sadhana is a Sanskrit term, right? Tibetan word is druptap. So druptap, Sanskrit we call the sadhana, which is we are chanting the rituals and the visualization, do visualization, recite mantra. Means in simple way, what does sadhana mean? Or druptap means that yourself bringing towards the state of a deity closely. You are pushing yourself towards the state of the deity. That is the druptap whole mean. It's a simple. Just simply having practice of kyerim or the process of generation has not enough power to purify these negative the emotions and the negative the incidents. So therefore, you have to transform into the the Deity yoga, through the rituals, through the druptap, through the sadhana, then the actual action that arise or given as a result from the druptap, from the sadhana, then one can really fight directly with the emotional obscurations and the conceptual obscurations to purify into their own true nature. So that's why we call Layan Nanjur or Deity yoga. With this perspective, then if you really realize that Layan Nanjur yourself is a Deity yoga, then when you make an offering before eating food or before drinking water or having tea, so you make an offering not to them, to yourself. Then you don't need to perform the prayers of Chöpabul. So because you yourself being into the state of the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas and the mandala, so therefore you just enjoy, you eat and drink. No need to chant special prayers, so to fold your hands and the imagine Buddhas there, then you're really making offerings. So that is the obstacle to your practice at that state. So realizing yourself as a Buddha, realizing yourself as the Deity, realizing yourself as the Dharma protector, then slowly you reduce the number of recitation, then slowly you reduce the number of sessions of doing sadhana, and slowly then you become free from the sadhana. Yes, but not now. at all. Don't think, of course, some of you maybe, how do I know, but it looks like, unlikely now. Unlikely. And when we talk about yoga, there are all kinds of yoga. Eating yoga, sleeping yoga, walking yoga, talking yoga, playing yoga, all kinds of, everything's yoga, right? So yoga is Nanjur. I have explained already, I don't need to repeat again and again. It's no point to repeat again. How much you have to repeat. So Nanjur yoga offer everything. So you eat in the sense of yoga, you walk in the sense of yoga, so that all related to the kyerim practice, yoga of Deity. From the state of the Deity yoga, then appears or arise every single yogas of your movement, of your body, speech, mind. So with that, the Deity yoga, one can purify those, the emotional and the conceptual, all the obscurations. Now the last is the Jangde, right? Jangmen Digu. The fruition of purification is full recognition of our basic true mind. So this is Jangmen Digu, the fruition of this Deity yoga is coming tomorrow, which is the process of accomplishment. Dzogchen, Tibetan word, is the fruition of the process of generation. So the druptap is very important, daily sadhana. When you do Grintara practice in the morning, or Genresic sadhana in the afternoon, or the sadhana of Mahakala, every single the sadhana you do or you perform, then perform these sadhanas along with these understanding is very important. Because why you are doing sadhana, why you are doing druptap? In English, simply druptap means like, it means means of accomplishment, right? So it is the method or the means to be able to accomplish to your realization. So every sadhana brings you to the state of that ultimate reality. So without associate along with these profound understanding, you are just wasting your time. Just reading, just make it recitation, just reading sadhanas, and just simply visualizing someone who you do not know, and you are just visualizing someone is a four arms there, like a Generisic four-arm Generisic is in a Rio Potala, where he is not moving, always sitting like this. It's very tiring. If there is some movement, so you will be enjoy, isn't it? Sometimes it's smiling, sometimes it's showing long face, sometimes showing smile face, sometimes he's walking around with the four or two arms. That really doesn't matter. But if you solidly, the concept of a solidity of a Generisic somewhere in Potala, unmoving, sitting on the lotus flower, not moving, not eating, not drinking, and even you chant and make a prayer, he never smiles at you, but you make smile him, but he never smiles at you. So that sort of a very complicated visualization does not work for you. Whole idea here, what we are doing Duptap or the sadhana, is to make close you towards the ultimate Generisic, which is your own true nature of mind. But you have to rely on the Duptap, the sadhana. So you have to carry, or you have to regard this Duptap or sadhana as a very serious practice, which makes sure that you don't waste your time, even half an hour or 10 minutes with this sadhana. Make sure every day you have to sense some improvement at a certain stage. And of course, there are differences. There are differences in the practice of generating processes, in the sense of depending on what level of a tantra and what tradition or what lineage or they belong to, like differences, the relationship you make with the deity, because you accept the deity as a lord. In the sense of Lord, in Tibetan word, Jewo. La Jewo Chudutemba. La Jewo means the deity is like a lord. You rely on him or her to save problems of mind, this and that. That's another way of practice of a deity. And then certain practices in the process of generation. When you practice with the deity, there is a way you regard this deity as your friend. This is my friend. This deity is my friend. So different sense. And sometimes you, in the practice of this process of generating, there are regards that you believe, or you regard this deity as my sister. Tara is my sister, or Generis is my brother. Sibling, right? In English you call sibling, right? Yeah, sibling. S-I-B-L-I-N-G, sibling.
Okay.
Sister or brother.
Okay.
Then, yeah, there are many different ways of your approach to the deity, but then that should go along with your inner power of realization, and so that way you can judge, she or he is my friend, or she or he is my lord, or my brother or sister. So that depends on you. It doesn't mean that you can choose whatever you like. So that way, anyhow, the whole purpose of doing these to make a strong connection towards the deity, where you can adopt or arise the deity yoga from that understanding. So that's the whole purpose of doing all these different ideas, or not idea, approaches. This is not idea, it's the real, it's a reality, but how you approach towards them is it depends on your practice. You should rely on the master's instruction and his or her the guideline. I still need to go further explanation or clarification regarding this practice. So I will do tomorrow with the teaching of Dzogchen, the state of accomplishment, because now my mind is keep jumping into the toilet, so therefore, I think better leave here. So tomorrow I will come back and make sure my mind will not jump into toilet again. Then we will continue calmly and peacefully.